I was born in Kristiansand, Norway, and I moved to Denmark at age of 13. So my first meeting with the industry was this burger bar at a hotel or at a tourist resort in southern Denmark. You know, we flip burgers and hot dogs and serve beer and stuff like that.
So, how did you end up in Copenhagen and what happened then?
Well, it started out with I moved back to Oslo and I met this guy called Simon Valentine. And if you remember the nightclub called Lux,
yep.
Me and him, we worked together, we lived together in Oslo, and all of a sudden he pulled up his roots and left back to Copenhagen. And he used to have his cafe in Islandsbrygge, and he called me about half a year after he left, and he was like, dude, we're opening this nightclub. And it's gonna be, you know, pushing boundaries, and we have a cocktail bar which is gonna be like the visit card for the nightclub that's gonna be open, and I need you to come down here, take a look, and I need your help. So I came down, and 3 weeks later I was living in Islandsbrygge.
Okay, so you opened up the dive, and what was there? Because I've been taught by some of the guys who've been in the industry for a while. No matter where you've been, no matter what guidelines and ground rules that you've been taught by, all of these guys have one thing in common, and that is that all of them mentioned the dive in some way or another, and they almost like glorify the days when the dive was still around. So what was the dive?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, you know, when we first opened together with Lux, it was supposed to be a cocktail bar as a kind of a visit card for the nightclub to show the quality and the products that we were gonna try to push into the nightclub scene. Right, we were trying to emphasize some quality in the nightclub. So from there, it kind of, you know, that was the starting point. You know, and as I mentioned earlier, I knew one guy in Copenhagen, that was Simon. So my first instinct was, and I had been working a few years before that, you know, and I was very certain that I wanted to do something with cocktails, and Copenhagen at that time was very, very in.
Yeah, when was this? This was
2004.
So it's way back.
So this was year zero when it came to cocktails in Copenhagen. Yeah. It was when it came to booze, it was 10 shots for 100. You know, it was there was no existing cocktail market in Copenhagen. We had a few bars. You had obviously K-Bar, which probably was the first, you know, real cocktail bar in Copenhagen, and then you had Yvonne's. And Okram just opened a few months before I opened the dive. You had Guilt that opened a few months before.
There were a few around.
Yeah, there was 3-4 bars, and obviously you had Grommet in St. Petri.
Yep.
So that was kind of like the starting point. It was the starting point. But in the beginning, I didn't really know where we were gonna go, you know. But my instinct told me that I had to connect with the industry people.
Yeah, because that's what everyone says, that you know, it was an industry place where people could go after work, and then crazy things would happen.
Yeah. Well, it did. But you know, in the beginning, actually, my relationship with Grommet and Bar Rouge was eminent in the beginning. And the first nights after I opened the bar, they used to close it around 1 or 12 or 1 or something like that, and I would go up to Grommet and visit him, and I would talk to the bartenders there, and you know, try to connect and stuff like that. And then after a few nights I connected, and I invited them to the after party, and I think the word after party kind of described the first period of the dive, because you know, after a few weeks, a few months, I used to keep the bar open, then I closed down, and then I would go out and meet people, visit bars and stuff like that, try to get connected to the city. And then I would open up the bar at around 3 or 4
Really?
for the staff from St. Petri.
Yeah.
And it started with St. Petri, and then it kind of grew from there,
Expanded from there.
Expanded from there.
I mean, everyone out there can ask their manager or owner who's been around Copenhagen for plus 8 years or so, 10 years. And they will all have some story from the dive. What was it that the dive could do? Like, what was the dive?
Well, it was kind of...
I'm fishing for the secret.
Yeah, well, it was inevitable that it became kind of like a gathering point for this new growing industry in Copenhagen. If I can say that we contributed to the ignition of this cocktail network.
Bringing the community together.
Yeah, it was that we had a place.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a lot of forces. We had some young people that were hungry and wanted to make a mark in the bar industry in Copenhagen, and they needed a place.
Yeah,
they needed a place to chill out, and they needed a place to
just to spar,
to spar with other people and to connect and to see, blah blah blah, And the first 2 years, it was basically I had some random customers from the nightclub during early hours, and then it was just bar industry in the So it was the point that people would go there because they knew that other bartenders went there, so they would go there to seek out opportunities. Where can I find a job? This was pre-Facebook time, so it was kind of like a group, a Facebook group.
Also, I imagine that because we all know what happens when you put a lot of industry bartenders together.
Of course,
we know what happens. But I imagine that it was quite an informal place as well. Because today, when you gather a lot of bartenders, it's often related to some of the big companies' brand product, promotion, which is fine. We need that, but. Back then, it was more about people just wanting to get together, right? And this was the place to do it. It was an informal.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it was in the beginning. If you went into a bar, I remember the first time I ever went to St. Petri, and I grabbed a cocktail menu, and it was almost like the bartenders knew that I was scouting out their cocktail menu, so they started picking them off. So it was a very different feeling of community and network. And then as soon as we established the dive as one of the like a free zone where we could all come and hang, and I think maybe that contributed into people that started to share ideas. They started to involve themselves in the other bars and stuff like that.
How many years did you? How long did you have the bar?
Well, it was almost 5 years to the day. 2 days from 5 days.
Quite.
Yeah.
2 days.
2 days.
Then it's 5 years.
Into 5 years, yeah.
Wow.
And it was. I remember when I opened, or when we broke off from the nightclub, and I saw that there was a market for cocktails, and I saw that we needed a place for the industry, and also we had 5, 10, 15 people that were doing it on their own, opening their own places and stuff like that. It was a movement, and it was inevitable. And I remember I said to myself that, because it wasn't a very lucrative business, but I said to myself that, I'm going to hang out for 5 years, because it takes 5 years to make an institution. And I think we just kind of made that.
Well, obviously, yeah, that's why we're sitting here today, right? Several years after, and I never went to the place, but I've heard about it. So you definitely, you did get something through. I'm totally convinced that you succeeded with that.